Drugs and Addiction, an Anarchist Perspective, Dickie Dread, and this is part 4 of the video series. And we're on chapter 1, The Drug War in the Mind. Section 2, Illusions that hold the cage together. By my 20s, the drugs had become less of a pastime and more of a philosophy. Booze loosened a tongue that had learned to stay clamped shut at home. Speed sharpened me into a restless machine built to outrun boredom. Cannabis softened the edges so I could breathe between the arguments. Those mixes didn't just numb, they amplified. Music came alive, colours fattened, mixes didn't just numb, laughter stretched out. A tune that once drifted in the background suddenly had depth and shape. A bass line became a landscape. I danced harder because I felt harder. And for a while, feeling hard felt like winning. And when I say hard, I don't mean tough there. There was genuine joy in that life. Nobody spends weeks chasing something that only wrecks them and still thinks that they're ahead. You keep chasing because, for a time, it works. On speed, I could get forensic, focused, practically heroic. With drink, I could melt into the noise. With cannabis, I could sit still and watch the world rearrange itself into something almost sensible and often funny. Those altered states made music urgent, politics personal, and freedom feel possible. It fed my politics as much as my cravings. Anarchism and altered states seemed like cousins. Both refused permission. Both celebrated autonomy. So no, it wasn't just escape, it was defiance. How dare anyone legislate my inner life? The idea that the state or some grim-faced moral committee could decide how I was allowed to feel was intolerable. We gathered with others who felt the same, not simply to get off our faces, but to reclaim the right to explore consciousness, to commune, to keep imagination alive. The parties, the sights, the raves, each was a small act of resistance. Each sound system, every squat, every roll joint was a tiny republic shouting, "We'll decide for ourselves." Still, even in the middle of all that noise and joy, I began to see the trapdoors. The highs were real, but they came with rent. The more I leaned on chemistry to make music sing or to feel brave, the less I practiced the quieter arts. Presence, patience, honest conversation. What started as liberation could easily turn into repetition. That's addiction's best trick. It looks like freedom until you realise you're dancing in a loop. As Gabor Mate points out, addiction answers a need rather than inventing one. Some of those needs I came to see were social and political, not just psychological. LSD never quite fit that pattern. Acid wasn't a comfort blanket, it was a cosmic boot camp. It didn't smooth things over, it dismantled them, sometimes beautifully, sometimes brutally. You can't get hooked on LSD any more than you can crave a thunderstorm. It teaches, it doesn't seduce. That's why calling it addictive misses the point. It's a different creature entirely. So where does truth live in all this? Somewhere in the middle, probably. Carr's idea that fear props up the habit, that nagging belief you can't cope without the drug still holds water. But it's a tool, not gospel. For some, abstinence is liberation. For others, mindful use within ritual or community can be a path towards meaning rather than escape. My own life taught me both truths. The drugs brought joy and political clarity, but they also blurred the personal work waiting underneath. I don't renounce the nights that felt like revolution. I still treasure the music that cracked open the sky and the friends who were there when it did. But I've also learnt to spot the line between nourishment and need. Fighting for the right to use substances remains part of the fight for autonomy, and I'd still fight it. But that freedom has to come with honesty, care and community. Otherwise, joy becomes another kind of cage. Back then, I had no cages and no fences, just open fields, open bottles, and a mind trying to find its way home. And the next chapter up will be, or the next section up will be the fear as architecture of control.